I love someone else, Logan, and I don't care what you think, said my wife Anna, holding the phone with messages from my best friend. I smiled and said. Logan Carter pulled into his driveway in suburban Atlanta, the engine of his pickup humming after a long day shaping landscapes for a new client. At 38, he built a thriving business from scratch, turning dirt and dreams into pristine lawns and gardens. Today, he'd wrapped up a major project early, eager to surprise his wife, Hannah, and their 4-year-old daughter, Sophie, with a rare evening together. He grabbed a bouquet of daisies, Sophie's favorite, from the passenger seat and stepped out, the summer heat clinging to his skin. The house was quiet, too quiet, as he pushed open the front door. Hannah? Soph? His voice echoed in the empty living room. No giggles from Sophie, no clatter of dishes from Hannah prepping dinner. A sticky note on the kitchen counter caught his eye. Out with friends. Sophie's with Mom. Back late. Logan's stomach tightened. Another night out. Hannah's girls' nights had become a weekly ritual, each one stretching later, her explanations vaguer. He dialed her phone. Straight to voicemail. Twice more. Same result. He tossed the daisies onto the counter, their petals wilting against the granite. By 11 p.m., Logan paced the living room, the TV muted, his untouched beer sweating on the coffee table. Hannah's phone was still off. He scrolled through her recent texts. Nothing unusual, just vague plans with Sarah and Michelle. But something gnawed at him, a suspicion he'd buried under years of trust. He called Sarah, a friend Hannah often mentioned. Her sleepy voice answered after 3 rings. Logan? It's late. What's up? Were you out with Hannah tonight? He asked, gripping the phone. No, I was home with the kids. Haven't seen her in weeks. Logan hung up, his pulse hammering. He sank into the couch, staring at the sticky note like it was a confession. The daisies mocked him from the counter. At 2 a.m., headlights swept across the windows. A car door slammed. Logan stayed seated, his hands clenched, as the front door creaked open. Hannah stumbled in, her purse slipping to the floor. She froze when she saw him, her eyes glassy, her breath sharp with vodka and something else. Cologne, cheap and unfamiliar. Logan, she slurred, steadying herself against the wall. You're up. Where were you? His voice was low, controlled, but his chest burned. Out. With the girls. Dancing. She avoided his gaze, kicking off her shoes. One heel was scuffed, the other smudged with dirt. Sarah wasn't with you, Logan said, standing. I called her. Hannah's face twitched, a flicker of panic. You're checking up on me now? I'm not your prisoner. She crossed her arms, her new designer purse, red leather, not his gift, dangling from her wrist. Who bought you that bag, Hannah? Logan stepped closer, his voice steady but sharp. She flinched, clutching the purse tighter. What's with the interrogation? I'm allowed to have fun. Fun doesn't smell like another man's cologne. He pointed to her neck, where faint red marks stood out against her skin. Hickeys. Undeniable. Hannah's hand flew to her throat, her eyes wide. You're paranoid, Logan. It's nothing. Then who were you with? He leaned in, his voice ablade. And don't lie to me again. She backed away, her bravado crumbling. I was with Nick, she whispered, the name slicing through the air. Nick, his best friend since high school, his business partner who handled equipment and scheduling while Logan designed and dug. The man who'd stood beside him at their wedding 8 years ago. Logan's vision blurred, rage and betrayal colliding in his chest. Nick, he repeated, the word bitter. How long? Logan, please, I didn't mean. How long? He roared, his fists slamming the counter. The daisies scattered. A year, she admitted, tears spilling. I was lonely. You're always working, always gone. Nick was there. Logan laughed, a hollow sound. I was working for us. For Sophie. For the life you wanted. He turned away, gripping the counter to keep from breaking something. Get out. Logan, wait. Pack a bag. Now. His voice was ice. You're not staying here tonight. Hannah sobbed, stumbling toward the stairs. Logan waited until her footsteps faded, then pulled out his phone. He scrolled to Nick's number, but didn't call. Not yet. Instead, he texted his lawyer, Mike, need you first thing tomorrow. Big problem. Then he dialed a private investigator he'd met on a job last year. I need answers, he said when the man picked up. Start with my wife and Nick Harper. I want everything. As the investigator agreed to start immediately, Logan sat back down, staring at the scattered daisies. The life he'd built, his marriage, his partnership, his trust was unraveling. But he wasn't the naive husband Hannah thought he was. Not anymore. By morning, he'd have a plan. By the end of the week, Hannah and Nick would regret ever crossing him. Logan Carter sat in his truck outside his landscaping office in suburban Atlanta, the engine off, the morning sun glaring through the windshield. His phone buzzed with a text from the private investigator, Carl. Got something. Meet me at the diner on Peachtree, 9 a.m. Logan glanced at the time, 8:45. He started the truck and pulled out, his jaw tight, the sting of Hannah's confession still raw. Nick, his best friend and business partner, had been betraying him for a year. Today, Logan would start fighting back. At the diner, Carl slid into the booth across from him, a manila folder in hand. You're not going to like this, Carl said, pushing the folder over. Logan opened it, his pulse quickening. Photos spilled out. Hannah and Nick at a downtown hotel, arms linked. Hannah slipping into Nick's apartment. A time-stamped shot of them in Logan's backyard. Nick's hand on her waist while Sophie's tricycle sat nearby. The final blow was a bank statement Carl had dug up. 3 credit cards in Logan's name, none of which he'd opened, racking up $25,000 in charges for hotel stays, jewelry, and dinners. Hannah's signature was on every receipt. She's been playing you, Carl said, sipping coffee. Nick's been footing some bills, but she's draining your accounts. Logan's hands shook as he flipped through the evidence. They used my house, he said, voice low, while my daughter was there. Carl nodded. I've got more. Text logs, hotel bookings. They weren't careful. You want me to keep digging? Yes, Logan said, sliding the folder into his bag. Find everything. I need leverage. He paid the bill and left, his mind racing. Hannah hadn't just cheated. She'd stolen from him, from their family. And Nick, the man he'd trusted since they were teens, had helped her. Logan drove to his lawyer's office, the folder burning a hole in his passenger seat. Mike Patterson, his attorney, scanned the documents, his brow furrowing. This is fraud, Logan. Those credit cards alone could land her in court. You want to press charges? Not yet, Logan said, leaning forward. I want her out of my life, cleanly. And Nick out of my business. Can you make that happen? Mike nodded. We'll file for divorce, citing adultery and financial misconduct. The photos and statements are enough for full custody of Sophie and to freeze her access to your accounts. For Nick, we can draft a buyout agreement, force him to sell his share of the company cheap or face public exposure. Do it, Logan said, but keep it quiet for now. I want to confront Nick myself. That afternoon, Logan transferred all joint savings to a new account Hannah couldn't touch. He called his mother, Ellen, to check on Sophie. She's coloring, Ellen said. Happy as ever. You okay, Logan? I will be, he said, hanging up. He drove to the bank, closing every account Hannah could access. By evening, he was back home, the house eerily silent. Hannah had texted once. Can we talk? I'm at Sarah's. Logan didn't reply. Instead, he sifted through the folder again, memorizing every detail. The backyard photo haunted him. Nick and Hannah laughing while Sophie played nearby, oblivious. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a violation of his home, his daughter's safety. The next morning, Logan called Nick to the office under the pretense of a client meeting. Nick arrived, his usual grin faltering when he saw Logan's expression. What's up, man? Nick asked, closing the door. Logan tossed the folder onto the desk. Open it. Nick hesitated, then flipped it open. His face paled as he saw the photos, the bank statements. Logan, save it. Logan cut him off, standing. A year, Nick. You've been sneaking around with my wife for a year. In my house. Around my daughter. His voice shook with barely contained rage. Nick backed toward the wall. It wasn't planned. She was lonely and... Don't, Logan snapped. You don't get to blame her. Or me. You chose this. He pulled out a contract Mike had drafted. Sign this. You sell me your half of the business for $1. Or these photos go to every client, every friend, every person in this city who knows your name. Nick's hands trembled as he read the contract. You'd ruin me. You ruined yourself, Logan said. Sign it. Now. Nick scribbled his signature, his eyes avoiding Logan's. I'm sorry, he muttered. You're not, Logan said, snatching the paper. Get out. Don't come near my family again. Nick left without another word, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Logan sat, the contract in hand, his heart pounding. One down. Hannah was next. He texted her, come home. We need to talk. She replied instantly. On my way. Logan set the folder on the kitchen table, ready for the confrontation. The evidence was ironclad, his plan in motion. Hannah thought she played him for a fool, but she was about to learn how wrong she was. Logan Carter stood in his kitchen, the manila folder open on the table, its contents, photos, bank statements, hotel receipts, spread out like a crime scene. The clock ticked past 7 p.m., and headlights flashed through the window as Hannah's car pulled into the driveway. Logan's pulse surged, but he kept his breathing steady. Nick had signed away his share of the landscaping business that morning, and now it was Hannah's turn to face the consequences. The front door clicked open, and Hannah stepped inside, her steps hesitant. "Logan," she called, her voice strained. She stopped short when she saw the evidence on the table, her purse slipping to the floor. "What's all this?" "Sit," Logan said, pointing to a chair. His tone was calm, but his eyes burned with resolve. Hannah eased into the seat, her hands fidgeting. "We can talk this out, right? I messed up, but—" "Stop," Logan interrupted, sliding a photo toward her. Her and Nick at a hotel bar, laughing, her hand on his arm. "A year, Hannah. You and Nick. In our house. Around Sophie." He pushed another document forward, a credit card statement with $25,000 in charges. "And you've been stealing from me to fund it." Her eyes darted to the statement, then back to him. "I can explain." "No, you can't." Logan leaned forward, his voice cutting like a blade. "You opened credit cards in my name. You spent thousands on hotels, dinners, that purse you're carrying. You planned to bleed me dry while lying to my face." Hannah's mouth opened, but no words came. She gripped the table, her knuckles pale. "I was going to pay it back. I swear." "With what?" Logan snapped. "Nick's money? Or were you planning to run off together?" He pulled out another photo, this one from their backyard, Nick's arm around her waist, Sophie's tricycle in the background. "You did this while our daughter was feet away." Hannah's eyes welled up, but Logan didn't waver. "I'm filing for divorce," he said, sliding a preliminary document from his lawyer across the table. "You'll have no access to our accounts. I'm going for full custody of Sophie, and you'll answer for the fraud in court if you fight me." "Logan, please," she whispered, tears spilling. "I love Sophie. I love you." "You love what I gave you," Logan said, standing. "A home, security, a family. But you threw it away." He pointed to a suitcase by the door, one he'd packed while she was gone. "Take that and leave. You're not welcome here anymore." Hannah stood, trembling, and grabbed the suitcase. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Figure out," Logan said, crossing his arms. "You were fine making plans behind my back." She lingered, as if waiting for him to soften, but he turned away, staring out the window until her car engine faded into the night. The next morning, Logan met his lawyer, Mike, at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Mike reviewed the divorce papers and evidence. "This is airtight," Mike said, tapping the folder. "The fraud, the affair, judges don't take kindly to this. You'll likely get full custody, and she'll owe restitution for the credit card debt." "What about the business?" Logan asked, sipping his coffee. "With Nick's share bought out, you're sole owner. No complications there, but Hannah might try to claim a stake. We'll block that with a fraud angle." Logan nodded, his mind already shifting to Sophie. "I need to protect my daughter. Hannah can't be around her unsupervised." "Agreed," Mike said. "We'll push for supervised visitation only. The judge will see the risk she poses." He slid a custody form across the table. "Sign this, and we'll file today." Logan signed, his hand steady. "What's next?" "We serve Hannah the papers. She'll have 30 days to respond. If she fights, we bury her with this evidence." Mike leaned back. "You're doing the right thing." Back home, Logan picked up Sophie from his mother's house. "Daddy," Sophie squealed, running into his arms, her pigtails bouncing. He hugged her tightly, the weight of the past days lifting slightly. "You have fun with Grandma?" he asked, carrying her to the truck. "Yup, we made cookies." Sophie grinned, oblivious to the storm her parents' lives had become. Logan buckled her into her car seat, vowing to shield her from the fallout. That evening, his phone buzzed with a voicemail from Hannah. "Logan, I'm sorry. I know I hurt you, but don't take Sophie away. I'll do anything." Her voice cracked, but Logan deleted the message. Apologies couldn't erase a year of lies. He texted Carl, the investigator. "Anything new?" Carl replied, "Found emails. Hannah was planning to move out last month, but backed off when you got suspicious. Also, Nick's been texting her nonstop since yesterday." Want you to track him? Yes, Logan typed. Keep tabs on both. He set the phone down, his resolve hardening. Hannah and Nick thought they could outsmart him, but every move they made only tightened the noose. Tomorrow, he'd meet with a financial advisor to secure his assets further. For now, he sat with Sophie, watching her color a picture of a butterfly, her tiny hands gripping crayons. This was his purpose now, building a safe, honest life for her, no matter what it took. Logan Carter sat in the Atlanta courthouse, his hands folded tightly as the judge reviewed the divorce papers. 3 weeks had passed since he'd kicked Hannah out, and the evidence of her affair and financial fraud lay stacked before the bench. Sophie was with Logan's mother, Ellen, safe in the legal storm unfolding. His lawyer, Mike, leaned over and whispered, "We've got this." The judge seized the betrayal. Logan nodded, his eyes fixed on Hannah across the room, sitting stiffly beside her attorney, her posture rigid with defiance. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, adjusted her glasses and addressed Hannah. "Mrs. Carter, the evidence, photos, bank records, witness statements, shows a pattern of deceit and financial misconduct. Do you contest these claims?" Hannah's lawyer stood. "My client acknowledges the affair, but disputes the fraud allegations. She believed the credit cards were joint." Mike rose swiftly. "Your Honor, the accounts were opened solely in Mr. Carter's name without his consent. Receipts show Mrs. Carter's purchases benefited her and Mr. Harper, not the family." The judge raised a hand. "I've seen enough. Full custody of the minor child, Sophie Carter, is granted to Logan Carter. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Carter, bi-weekly, pending compliance with court-ordered restitution for $25,000 in unauthorized debt." She turned to Hannah. "You're to vacate any claim to Mr. Carter's business assets." Hannah's shoulders slumped, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. Logan exhaled, relief mixing with lingering anger. He'd protected Sophie, but the victory fell hollow. As the gavel fell, Hannah shot him a glance, part desperation, part resentment, before leaving the courtroom. Outside, Logan's phone buzzed with a text from Carl, the private investigator. Nick's leaving town. Packed his car, headed to Florida. Hannah's crashing at a friend's place, drowning in debt. Logan pocketed the phone, unsurprised. Nick had crumbled after signing over his share of the landscaping company for $1. His reputation in tatters as whispers of his betrayal spread through Atlanta's tight-knit business community. Logan drove to his mother's house to pick up Sophie. Ellen greeted him at the door, her eyes soft with concern. "How'd it go?" "Sophie's mine," Logan said, stepping inside. "Hannah gets supervised visits. She's on the hook for the money she stole." Ellen hugged him. "You did right by your girl." Sophie ran from the living room, clutching a stuffed bunny, and threw herself into Logan's arms. "Daddy, can we get ice cream?" "Sure, kiddo," Logan said, lifting her. Her smile dulled the ache in his chest. He thanked Ellen and took Sophie to a nearby shop, watching her scoop chocolate ice cream as he planned his next steps. The business was now his alone, and he needed to rebuild. New hires, new contracts, a fresh start. The following week, Logan met with a financial advisor to untangle the mess Hannah had left. "You're lucky," the advisor said, reviewing the accounts. "You moved fast to protect your assets. The debt's in her name now, and your business funds are secure." Logan signed off on a new investment plan to expand the company, eyeing a second location in Savannah. Word of his integrity had spread, bringing in clients who valued a man who stood his ground. At Sophie's daycare, Logan noticed Emma, her teacher, lingering to chat when he dropped Sophie off. "She's been talking about you nonstop," Emma said, handing Sophie her backpack. "You're her hero." Her warm smile caught Logan off guard, stirring something he hadn't felt in months, hope. He thanked her, promising to join the next parent-teacher event. That evening, Carl called with an update. Hannah's been emailing Nick, begging him to come back. He's not responding. She's also been job hunting, but her credit's shot, and no one's hiring her with that debt hanging over her. Logan listened, unsurprised. Hannah's choices had built her own cage. He hung up and tucked Sophie into bed, reading her a story about a brave fox outsmarting a wolf. As her eyes closed, he kissed her forehead, vowing to be the father she deserved. The next day, Logan met with 2 new hires for the business, both skilled landscapers eager to join a company with a growing reputation. He walked them through a new project, a community park redesign, feeling a spark of pride. The betrayal had nearly broken him, but it had also freed him to rebuild stronger. Hannah and Nick were ghosts now, their lies exposed, their lives unraveling. Logan, meanwhile, was planting new roots for himself and for Sophie. Logan Carter pushed a swing in his backyard, the creak of the chains blending with Sophie's laughter as she soared higher. 2 years had passed since the divorce, and his 5-year-old daughter's joy was now the center of his world. The Atlanta sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the garden he'd designed himself, a testament to the life he'd rebuilt from the wreckage of Hannah's betrayal. His landscaping business thrived, with a new branch in Savannah and a reputation for excellence that drew clients from across Georgia. Sophie called out, "Higher, Daddy." Logan gave another push, his heart swelling. Inside, Emma, his wife of 6 months, prepared lemonade, her soft humming drifting through the open kitchen window. Emma had entered their lives gradually, first as Sophie's daycare teacher, then as a friend who brought warmth to their home. Her patience and genuine care for Sophie had won Logan over, and their quiet wedding last spring marked a new chapter. Sophie adored her, calling her and begging for her bedtime stories. Logan's phone buzzed in his pocket, a message from his lawyer, Mike. Hannah missed another visitation. Court's considering revoking her rights if she skips again. Logan sighed, tucking the phone away. Hannah's supervised visits had dwindled over the past year. She'd moved 3 hours away to Macon with a new boyfriend, her life a tangle of unpaid debts and unstable relationships. Sophie rarely asked about her anymore, her questions fading as Emma filled the gap with steady love. "Time for a break, kiddo," Logan said, catching the swing. Sophie hopped off, grabbing his hand as they walked to the patio. Emma emerged, balancing a tray of lemonade and cookies. "Who's ready for a treat?" she asked, setting the tray down. Sophie squealed, grabbing a cookie, while Logan kissed Emma's cheek, grateful for her calm presence. "Everything okay?" Emma asked, noticing his brief frown. "Just Hannah," Logan said, keeping his voice low. "Missed another visit. Court might cut her off." Emma squeezed his hand. "Sophie's happy. That's what matters." Logan nodded, watching Sophie chase a butterfly across the yard. Emma was right. His daughter's smile was proof he'd made the right choices. Later, Logan checked his email, finding a report from his business manager. The Savannah branch had landed a contract for a city plaza, doubling their revenue. He'd hired 3 more workers, all drawn to his story of resilience. The scandal of Hannah and Nick had faded, replaced by respect for a man who'd turned betrayal into triumph. Logan replied with approval for the project, then joined Sophie and Emma for a board game, their laughter filling the house. The next day, Logan drove Sophie to daycare, where Emma now worked part-time, balancing her teaching with helping manage the business's books. As he dropped Sophie off, a parent approached him, a local council member. "Heard about your plaza project," the man said. "We're impressed. Want to bid on a park redesign next month?" "I'm in," Logan said, shaking his hand. The encounter stayed with him as he drove to a job site, a sense of purpose grounding him. The business wasn't just surviving. It was thriving, a reflection of the strength he'd found after Hannah's lies. That evening, Logan ran into Nick at a gas station outside Atlanta, a chance encounter during a rare work trip. Nick looked worn, his shoulders hunched, his car packed with boxes. He hesitated, then approached. "Logan, can we talk?" Logan kept his tone even. "Nothing to say." He turned to his truck, but Nick's voice followed. "I'm sorry. I messed up everything." Logan paused, his hand on the door. "You did. Live with it." He drove off, leaving Nick in the rearview mirror. The apology meant nothing. Nick's choices had cost him his friends, his career, his place in the city. Logan felt no pity, only closure. Back home, Emma and Sophie were planting flowers in the garden, Sophie's hands covered in dirt. "Look, Daddy, we're making it pretty," she called. Logan joined them, kneeling to help, the soil cool under his fingers. As they worked, Emma shared plans for a family camping trip, her eyes bright with excitement. Logan smiled, realizing how far he'd come. Hannah's betrayal had shattered his old life, but it had also revealed his strength. He'd protected Sophie, rebuilt his business, and found a partner who valued honesty as much as he did. As the sun set, Logan looked at his family, the garden blooming around them. This was his redemption, a life built on trust, love, and the certainty that he'd never let anyone break him again.